Imagination. 3. Discrimination. 4. Intuition. 5. Perfection. The fifth sense. Smell. 1. Physical smell. 2. Emotional idealism. 3. Spiritual discernment. 4. Idealism. 5. All knowledge. Let us now proceed to take up each of these senses in detail. A. Hearing. This, very appropriately, is the first sense to be manifested. The first aspect of manifestation is that of sound, and necessarily therefore we would expect sound to be the first thing noticed by man on the physical plane, the plane of densest manifestation, and of the most marked effects of sound, regarding it as a creating factor. Preeminently the physical plane is the plane of hearing, and hence the sense ascribed to the lowest plane of evolution, and of each of the 5 planes. On this 7th or lowest plane man has to come to full cognizance of the effect of the sacred word, as it is in process of sounding forth. As it reverberates throughout the system, it drives matter into its appointed place, and on the physical plane finds its point of deepest materiality and of most concrete demonstration. The key for man to discover and turn, concerns itself with the revealing of the mystery of A. His own sound. B. His brother's sound. C. His group sound. D. The sound of that one of the heavenly men with whom he is connected. E. The sound of the Logos, or the sound of nature. Of the solar system, of the grand man of the heavens. Therefore, we note that on the physical plane a man has to find his own note, finding it in spite of the density of the form. A. On the physical plane he finds his own note. B. On the astral plane he finds his brother's note. Through identity of emotion he comes to the recognition of his brother's identity. C. On the mental plane he begins to find his group note. D. On the Buddhic plane, or the plane of wisdom, he begins to find the note of his planetary logos. E. On the atmic, or spiritual, plane the note logoic begins to sound within his consciousness. I am differentiating thus for the sake of clarity. In evolution itself, due to the parallelism of nature, the distinctions are not so sharply made, and a man's point of development, the work earlier accomplished, his temporary limitations, and other causes create a seeming confusion, but in the great scheme as seen from above downwards, the work proceeds as described. Hearing on the astral plane is commonly called clairaudience, and means the ability to hear the sounds of the astral plane. It is a faculty that demonstrates throughout the entire astral body, and a man hears all over his vehicle and not only through the specialized organs, the ears, the product of physical plane action and reaction. This would necessarily be so, owing to the fluidic nature of the astral body. Man on the physical plane hears at the same time a certain range of sounds, and only a small and particular gamut of vibrations impinges upon his ears. There are many of the lesser sounds of nature which entirely escape him, while the major group sounds are not differentiated at all. As evolution proceeds and the inner sense of hearing becomes acute, these other physical plane sounds will likewise swing into his ken, and he will be acutely conscious of all sounds on the astral and the physical plane, a thing which, if possible now, would result in the shattering of the body. If the note of nature, for instance, were to strike but once upon the ear of a man, a note made up of the totality of vibrations produced by all dense material forms, his physical body would be completely disrupted. He is not ready yet for such a happening. The inner ear is not duly prepared. Only when the threefold hearing is consummated will completed hearing on the physical plane be likewise permitted. Hearing on the mental plane is simply an extension of the faculty of differentiating sound. The hearing dealt with on all these planes is the hearing that has to do with the form, that concerns the vibration of matter, and that is occupied with the not-self. It has not to do with the psyche, or the telepathic communication that proceeds from mind to mind, but with the sound of the form or that power whereby one separated unit of consciousness is aware of another unit who is not himself. Bear this carefully in mind. When the extension of hearing becomes such that it concerns the psyche, then we call it telepathy, or that wordless communication that is the synthesis of hearing on all the three lower planes and which is known by the ego in the causal body on the formless levels of the mental plane. On the Buddhic plane, hearing, now of the synthetic quality called telepathy, demonstrates as complete comprehension, for it has involved two things. 1. A knowledge and recognition of individual sound. 2. A similar knowledge of group sound, and their complete unification. This causes the most perfect comprehension, and is the secret of the Master's power. On the Atmic plane, this perfected hearing is seen as beatitude. Sound, the basis of existence. Sound, the method of being. Sound, the final unifier. Sound therefore realized as the raison d'être, as the method of evolution, and therefore as beatitude. 82. Sound. Sound is the first aspect of the manifested pentagon, since it is a property of ether called Akas, and as I already said, Vedic recitation is the highest yanam, containing in itself all minor yanams and tending to preserve the manifested pentagon in the proper order. In the opinion of our old philosophers, sound or speech is next to thought the highest karmic agent used by man. Of the various karmic agencies wielded by man in the way of molding himself and surroundings, sound or speech is the most important, for to speak is to work in ether, which of course rules the lower quaternary of elements, air, fire, water and earth. Human sound or language contains therefore all the elements required to move the different classes of devas, and those elements are of course the vowels and the consonants. The details of the philosophy of sound in its relation to the devas who preside over the subtle world, belong to the domain of true mantra sastra, which of course is in the hands of the knowers. Some thoughts on the Gita, p. 72.80b. Touch. In taking up the subject of the second sense, that of touch, we must note that this sense is preeminently the sense of very great importance in this, the second, solar system, a system of astral bodic consciousness. 83-81. Each of these senses, after having reached a certain point, begins to synthesize with the others in such a way that it is almost impossible to know where one begins and the other ends. Touch is that innate recognition of contact through the exercise of manas, or mind, in a threefold manner. As recognition, as memory, as anticipation. Each of the five senses, when coupled with manas, develops within the subject a concept embodying the past, the present and the future. Therefore when a man is very highly evolved, has transcended time, as known in the three worlds, and can therefore look at the three lower planes from the standpoint of the eternal now, he has superseded the senses by full active consciousness. He knows, and needs not the senses to guide him any longer to knowledge. But in time, and in the three worlds, each sense on each plane is employed to convey to the thinker some aspect of the not-self, and by the aid of mind, the thinker can then adjust his relationship thereto. Hearing gives him an idea of relative direction, and enables a man to fix his place in the scheme and to locate himself. Touch gives him an idea of relative quantity, and enables him to fix his relative value as regards other bodies, extraneous to himself. Sight gives him an idea of proportion, and enables him to adjust his movements to the movements of others. Taste gives him an idea of value, and enables him to fix upon that which to him appears best. Smell gives him an idea of innate quality, and enables him to find that which appeals to him as of the same quality or essence as himself. In all these definitions it is necessary to bear in mind that the whole object of the senses is to reveal the not-self, and to enable the self therefore to differentiate between the real and the unreal. 84-82 Sensations aroused by sense objects are experienced by means of the outer instruments of the lord of the body, or senses, Indriya, which are the pathways through which the jiva receives worldly experience. These are 10 in number, and are of 2 classes. A. The 5 organs of sensation Jnanendriya 1. The ear hearing. 2. Skin feeling by touch. 3. Eyesight. 4. Tongue taste. 5. Nose smell. B. The 5 organs of action Karmendriya 1. Mouth speaking. 2. Hands grasping. 3. Legs walking. 4. Anus excretion. 5. Genitals procreation. The organs of sensation are the reactive response which the self makes to sensation. The organs of action are those through which effect is given to the jiva's desires. The indriya or sense is not the physical organ, but the faculty of mind operating through that organ as its instrument. The outward sense organs are the usual means whereby on the physical plane the functions of hearing, and so forth are accomplished. But, as they are mere instruments, and their power is derived from the mind, a yogi may accomplish by the mind only all that may be done by means of these physical organs without the use of the letter. The 3 functions of attention, selection and synthesizing the discrete manifold of the senses, are those belonging to that aspect of the mental body, the internal agent, called manas. Just as manas is necessary to the senses, the latter are necessary for manas. Manas is thus the leading indriya, of which the senses are powers. Serpent power, by Arthur Avalon. 82 In the evolution of the senses, hearing is the first vague something which calls the attention of the apparently blind self A. to another vibration. B. to something originating outside of itself. C. to the concept of externality. When sound is first contacted, the consciousness for the first time becomes aware of that which is without. But all that is grasped by the dormant consciousness, by means of this one sense of hearing, is the fact of something extraneous to itself, and of the direction in which that something lies. This apprehension, in course of time, calls into being another sense, that of touch. The law of attraction works, the consciousness moves slowly outwards towards that which is heard. And when contact is made with the not-self, it is called touch. This touch conveys other ideas to the groping consciousness, ideas of size, of external texture, and of surface differences. The concept of the thinker is thus slowly enlarged. He can hear and feel, but as yet knows not enough to correlate nor name. When he succeeds in naming, he has made a big stride forward. We might note here, therefore, that the earliest cosmic symbols are applicable to the senses as well as elsewhere. The point in the center consciousness, and the not-self at a stage where sound alone is descriptive. The divided circle consciousness aware of the not-self, through a dual recognition. Sight follows on this, the third sense, and the